Once upon a time, there lived a beautiful young woman named Cinderella. Cinderella lived with her stepmother and her two mean stepsisters. One day, a ball is coming tonight, and her stepmother and her stepsisters is going to the castle of the prince, and they are in the castle. But poor Cinderella wanted to go to the ball, but her dirty old clothes. It's so dirty. Everyone wearing beautiful clothes to the ball, but only her wearing the dirty old rags. She wished she could go to the ball, and she's so sad and about to cry. Suddenly her fairy godmother appeared, and she swung her wand, and the door unlocked and opened. Cinderella looked in the house and she saw the open door and she went outside. And Cinderella is so sad and she told the fairy godmother all about her story, and the fairy godmother had a big smile on her face and she said, "Bring me a pumpkin." Cinderella asked, "A pumpkin? I shall surprise you now. Quickly, bring me a pumpkin," she said. And then Cinderella bring her a pumpkin. I cannot draw a pumpkin. I draw this instead. And the pumpkin was here in front of the fairy godmother. And the fairy godmother won her wand, and the pumpkin turned into a beautiful golden carriage. And the doors and window, and the fairy godmother won her wand again, and Cinderella turned into a beautiful young woman. She looked like a princess, and she wore a beautiful golden dress and beautiful astonished hair with a golden crown on her head. And Cinderella thanks her fairy godmother, and she whooshed into the carriage, and she about to go, her fairy godmother warned, "You must leave the ball until midnight, and my magic will disappear. You shall wear your own little dirty rags." Cinderella agreed, and she promised, and she swung into the carriage and drove off to the prince's castle. This is a night sky of the moon was falling, and the cloud was beating the moon. It's hiding the moon away from the sky. And then when she comes, a little boy is the servant of the prince, comes and show her the way to the ballroom. And when she sees the handsome young prince, she goes there. I cannot draw a prince handsome like my daddy. He knows everything. I just draw this little prince instead, like this pumpkin. Now let's begin the story. And when she saw the prince, she goes and wants to dance with him. The prince saw Cinderella, and he even fell in love with her and ran to her and wanted to have a dance on the shiny floor. And Cinderella danced all night, and she forgot the midnight. The clock is there with a heart, a big heart. The clock is lost its hands, and the little servants buy a new clock on the top of the old clock, and then it's have their hands. Suddenly, bang, bang, and then Cinderella hears her voice that called, "Bang! It's the clock." And Cinderella is very astonished. She remembered her fairy godmother words. And then she ran away, flipped into the stairs, and suddenly she lost her beautiful slippers. I'm probably forgot to draw a slipper, but I don't know what is the slipper like, but I'm still not draw it. And Cinderella flips into the stairs and ran away into her carriage. And she ran a little bit middle, and suddenly, bingo take! The carriage turned to a pumpkin. Cinderella turned to her old dirty rags. And then she go back home. Her slipper didn't turn to her old rags. She still have her glass slipper, and she hide it in her pocket. And her stepmother and her stepsister shall not see, and they think she is going to the ball with the help of the fairy godmother. And then her stepmother and her stepsister go out of the ball. They are very disappointed because the prince didn't look at them all of his eyes. He only looked at Cinderella, dress and beautiful body. And then Cinderella, just look into the story you didn't know. And then Cinderella go into her house and lock the door, just like the normal one. And then when she waited for her, I told you, please don't do that ever again. And when she waited for her stepmother and her two mean stepsister arrives at homes, they go to bed. They go to bed upstairs. It's a little corridor. It have a dog ball, and they have a ticking heart on the bed. I don't know that, but it just looked fine. It's just squiggling. And now Cinderella is so convinced. How about the prince? The prince? See, the prince is here. He is so sad because his beloved love, Cinderella, is gone. And he found his slipper. He ran to catch the slipper. Get her gun. And then Cinderella, she don't have time to take her slipper back to her foot, and she ran away. The prince is so worried, but he still loves her, and he told everybody who fit the slipper shall be his wife and will marry him. And all of the messenger and soldier of the prince go and find the prince, join them. And then, don't worry, it's all okay. Don't worry. It's okay. Don't say anything. Just listen to my story. My little sister sleeping down the downstairs. Now, the prince is so worried that he flew off the wand. The next morning, the prince, with his messenger and soldiers, all of his story ends, and you can turn off. And the prince goes with his messenger and soldier to find the young lady Cinderella. And he finally got into Cinderella house. There's the Cinderella house. And he said, "Who fit this slipper shall be my wife, and you will marry me," she said. And then the stepmother and the stepsister rush. And the first sister tries on, but it still not fits. The second not. And this even stepmother even not fits. Cinderella get out of her bedrooms and said, "May I try on it?" she asked the messenger and soldiers. Her stepmother and her two mean stepsisters laughed. "Oh no, they're crazies." But the soldiers and the messengers said to the prince, all she could try. The prince said, "All of the maidens and ladies and women, all of the princesses, will try on the glass slippers," she said. And Cinderella sit on the chair, and she take her foot into the glass gleaming scissors. Suddenly, her stepmother rushed with anger, and she kicked the slippers, and the slipper fell to the floor and broke to pieces. Suddenly, Cinderella remembered the other shoes in her pocket. And then she took her shoes and fits on her foot, and they were merry. And they all lived happily ever after. The end.